Well, it was about several years ago that they were out visiting a little bitty town out west in Greeley, Colorado. It seems that, if you're not familiar with Colorado, Greeley's about an hour outside of Denver. And it seems that, dear old Dad had talked his daughter into riding the roller coaster. And if you're uninitiated about and uninformed about roller coasters, they are some of the wildest, fastest rides that you can ever have, and they're a whole lot of fun. And as we got on the roller coaster, we started slowly clicking our way up the steep, steep incline, inching our way to the top, and wow, this was going to be an exciting time, because off to the south side, it's all these purple mountain majesties, the Rocky Mountains just towering. On the other side is just open cornfields for as far as the eye can see. It's really nice, and we make it to the top, and then all kinds of confusion, chaos, and a whole lot of screaming break out as we rocket down. What happened to that nice, calm ride? It was calm, it was inviting, and suddenly, within seconds, it just changes into all kinds of frantic frenzy and unsettlement. It's a white-knuckled ride as we're cruising along. But our lives, when you think about our lives, especially our financial lives, they're not much different than a roller coaster. When you're riding high on easy street, life is good. You got plenty of money, a raise at work. Maybe you picked up an inheritance. Smooth sailing. No financial worries whatsoever. Then suddenly you make it over the hump. You start on that downhill slope, getting faster and faster, going down, and a medical bill comes in, an unexpected car repair, child needs something at college, some other unexpected expenses. They all seem to come with a whole lot of confusion. Everything seems to be breaking apart, and it's often accompanied with a lot of screaming as well. Money management, it's kind of vital in our lives, and as I said at the beginning of the service, it's something that we're going to be looking at here in this for the next 3 weeks. It's from the Gospel of Luke. It's called Possessions and Parables. And I think there's stuff here to learn. In fact, I know there's stuff here to learn from the Gospel of Luke. Let me give you a little bit of statistics on the Gospel of Luke, just in case you didn't really look at the Gospel of Luke. 65% of the parables in the Gospel of Luke deal with money and possessions. 1 out of every 6 lines in the Gospel of Luke deals with money and possessions. In fact, Jesus spends more time talking about money and possessions in the Gospel of Luke than he talks about heaven or hell. So what's his point? Why is Jesus talking so much about money and possessions? Because he says, if you're not going to manage your money is going to manage you. Take a look at the gospel reading. He says, someone in the crowd says, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." But he said to him, "Man, who made me a judge or an arbitrator over you?" And he said to them, "Take care and be on guard against all greed for one's life." Life appears in this gospel of Luke in chapter 12 here 6 times. Life is a key component to understanding part of this gospel here. And life does not consist of just your money and your possessions. And what follows, Jesus begins not to be a judge between the two, but to be a judge over the two. He's not judging them on their pocketbook. He's judging them on their hearts. Jesus has something to tell them and to teach them about money, and I think he has something important for us to learn too about money. The word that's used here in the Greek that I translated as greed, it has this force behind it of something to the effect of a thirst for more, a desire for more. You gotta just hoard as much of it as you can. It's kind of like those kids with all their Halloween candy. They gotta have more of it. If they want to pack as much as they can into the bag, they just gotta have it. But that's not what Jesus is getting at here. An attitude like that in life, an attitude of one that's just hoarding and piling it all up, well, that's not one that Jesus wants. He says, and I think he gives us good warning here. If we just go back just a couple of chapters here in Luke to chapter 9, verse 25, he says, what does it gain a man? To gain the whole world and yet lose his soul. So Jesus continues on. He begins with this little parable. And he says, and he told them a parable saying, the land of a rich man produced plentiful. He thought to himself, what shall I do? For I have nowhere to store my crops. He said, I will do this. I will tear down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store all my grain, my goods, and I will say to my soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, and be merry. Rather than building additional barns, this man decides to not only just take land that's in production out of production, he decides to rip down the existing barns just to build new, larger, bigger barns. In fact, when you're looking at doing that, we're looking at tearing down what is perfectly good just to build larger ones. That takes money. That takes wealth. This guy's got the wealth. The general public at this time, the general people, they have a subsistence type of economy. By this man taking and hoarding all of that, he is denying those mouths that are out there that have plenty of storage place for this grain. The poor and the needy could use this. He's eating up and taking land out of production that could be used to feed the poor and needy. This man has made several assumptions that his personal possessions, that his personal gifts, his personal wealth is all that he needs for his happiness. He's being foolish. He's being wasteful. In Luke, skip ahead a little bit to chapter 15. There's the shepherds. They share. There's the woman at the well. She shares. And there are many others. If we continue just to look on who celebrate, they share. And what are they sharing? For today, to you is born the babe in Bethlehem. They're sharing the good news. But the rich man, he has nobody. He has nobody to share with. It's all about I. In fact, I counted as I was reading the I, the me, the you. 15 times he refers to himself in this parable. 15 times he says it's all about me, not about others. He's not sharing. He's not doing anything with his material riches. He lives alone. He plans alone. He builds alone. He indulges alone. And he is going to die alone. And that's why God says to him, you fool, for tonight your very life will be required of you. In fact, the term here that's used, that are termed, sometimes it's translated as demand or required, this is really a business term. It's a contractual term that's used. It's one of recalling a loan. The loan payment is due, and the loan payment on the rich man's life is due. God himself is coming to collect the loan of his life. He says, I want it back, and I want to take it now. Payment is in full. There's no more negotiation. Done deal. Money is kind of like manure. You know, if you spread it around, it makes things grow. But if you hoard it and you just pile it up, it starts stinking. So, the one who lays up the treasures for himself and is not rich towards God, how do you and I become rich towards God? Well, last year, I don't even remember where I read this, but I read this. It was about an article about a newlywed. They got in there and they walked into their honeymoon suite, and all they found was a little pull-out sofa for a bed, a small, tiny little bathroom, and a closet door. They never opened the closet door. He was furious. So after the night there on that little pull-out sofa with his sore back and a sore neck, he goes down and he complains to the manager at the hotel desk. I mean, he is rip-roaring mad. The manager says, well, didn't you open the door? He says, you mean to the closet? He says, you opened the door. So he goes up to his room and he opens the door and he finds this huge room. There's a great big, huge, inviting bed. There's all kinds of wine. There's all kinds of gift baskets, chocolate, everything that needed to be there for the honeymoon was there. Yet they thought it was a closet. They didn't even bother to open the door to check it out. But the Father's will for us is one that says, you must have. You must desire it. You know, you have to clean out all of the other things. You have to clean out your heart. You have to know that today, the town of David was that Savior that was born for you. That He comes to you. He's a must-have. He's something that you just got to take part of. It's what He does. It's what He gives. He opens up the closet door, and behind the door is all of the treasures of heaven. All of the kingdom is open there to you. All you have to do is open the door. So how do you open the door? It starts when you become a baptized child of God. It starts when you go out and you start to take your time, your talents, and your testimony out, and you begin to tell about the babe of Bethlehem and spread that good news around. It starts there. He's the one who goes and takes on all the slander. He's the one that gets spit on. He's the one that gets beaten. He's the one that gets bruised. He's the one that gets crucified, and He does it all for you because He wants to open up the door. It's not the closet door. It's the door to the kingdom of heaven. It's through Christ's death. It's through His resurrection that we get that door opened up. The entire kingdom is wide open to you with all of its riches. He's not a stingy God. He's a God of great wealth. He's a God of great pleasure. He's a God that wants to give you everything your heart's desire. The Eucharistic joy is there. The power of the gospel is there. And we are rich towards God, rich towards Him, and He is rich towards us forever and ever. So, money, possessions, they have a place and a time. They have something that we need to do. We got to get off of the money and possessions roller coaster ride, because you're going to hit the top and then you're going to come crashing down to the bottom, and it may not be too fun when that happens. So I want you to meet your God. Meet Him again for the first time. His name is Jesus Christ. Amen.